Hello, everybody. Good evening to all of you. Very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining the class. All of you, I'm not taking name of all of you. Many students has joined already. So thank you so much for joining the class. Okay, right. So we'll just wait for 1 to 2 minutes for other students to join. Okay, because I know more we are going to join. So I hope by the meantime I'm audible and visible to you. I'm audible and visible to you, all of you, clear? Okay. So in between, if you have any kind of problem like video is hanging or sound is cracking, you can inform. But most of the cases, what happens, it is the internet speed that is the culprit. So try to refresh your page if it is hang in between, or if it is causing problem in between, or you can let me know if it is problem from my side. I'll also check that, right? So everybody, you know that this session, that NEET PG 2021 Crack Physiology with Dr. Somin Manna. So this has been planned to guide you or to give you a glimpse that how to crack physiology for the NEET examination. As I told earlier, that NEET examination means the MCQs or the questions that are going to discuss in this session. It will be beneficial for the foreign medical graduate student also, and some of the topics are also important for the Central Institute examination, right? So what we are going to do, I am going to conduct a series of special classes. How many total classes are there? We are going to I am going to conduct total 15 classes within this month only. Total 15 classes, right? So all of these classes will be from Monday to Friday. So first week, so this week Monday to Friday, 5 classes. Next week another 5 classes, and next week another 5 classes. So altogether, total 15 classes will be there. So what are there inside these 15 classes? So look at here. The week 1, that is the high yield topics discussion. Like for example, today we are going to discuss one important topic. Similarly, all these 5 sessions, so there are total 5 classes, okay, 5 class. In these 5 classes, we are going to discuss this high yield topic. Then next 5 classes in the next week number 2, image-based questions will be discussed. Now here I have again 5 classes here, 5 classes Monday to Friday, right? So I'm going to discuss the image-based question. Now, if you have any difficulties understanding any particular image, you can email that image to me. So I'll put that image into my discussion classes. Otherwise, if you don't have, no problem. I'm going to select some images which will be very, very beneficial for your purposes. Okay. But if you have problem in some specific images, you can email me in my email address that is given at the end of the classes. So that's, sir, please include this image into your class. I'll be happy to do that, right? And the week number 3, it is written here, strategies and strength. Whatever you are requesting that the clinical MCQs should be discussed. So all the clinical MCQs and some of the old MCQs will be discussed in this session. So clinical as well as old MCQs. That's why the name is given strategies and trend. So we are finding out that the trend is more and more clinical based question. So I'll try to incorporate more clinical question in this session, although some of the old MCQs will also be discussed. So that is the strategies for 15 classes. So all of you are requesting neurophysiology, okay? So one YouTube session I am taking under this Unacademy platform, YouTube session. There I am taking only the clinical neurophysiology series of lecture, only the clinical neurophysiology. One session I have recorded already, that is there in Unacademy YouTube platform, right? You can search there, clinical neurophysiology, and subsequent session will also come after the finish of these 15 classes in this month only, right? So there we are discussing a difficult type of clinical neurophysiology questions, difficult type of clinical neurophysiology question based on Genome guidance, right? Respiratory physiology, please. Okay, so see, some of the high yield topics are also there in respiratory physiology, right? So but all of the topic is not possible to discuss in this free session. All of you know that there are some limitation from the team also and from everywhere. So now you look at this, I have put all the schedule here in the first week. So this is the schedule of first week. It is starting from Monday and it is going up to Friday. So this is the first week classes, right? So in this first week classes, what you are going to get all are the topics discussion, high yield topic discussion, right? Next week I'll put another schedule like this. If you follow all of this session, if you attend all of this session, I'll put the schedule for the next week also. There we are going to discuss the image based question, and next week we are going to discuss the same 5 session but based on the clinical and old MCQs of NEET examination. So here the first topic is the excitation contraction coupling, and second synaptic transmission. Third is the compliance of lung and high altitude physiology. So already you are getting two important and two confusing topic, I should say, under respiratory physiology. So these are the two important topic and confusing topic also, and one of the very easy topic, but multiple MCQs comes from this topic. So you must have to make your concept stronger in this baroreceptor reflex topic also. So just click on this link. After the class is over, just download the PDF. The PDF will be saved in the platform and it will be available after 1 to 2 hours. Just download the PDF, click on the link, and just put that notify me. Okay, just select the button notify me. The class notification will be sent to you just before the classes. Okay, so that is the rule of these classes. So this is the date and time is given every day. I'm going to take this session on 8 p.m. only. Okay, for this week also, next week, and next week, right? So this is the whole schedule of altogether 15 classes to give you the best benefit of physiology, right? Now we are directly entering into our topic today. So topic is nothing but excitation contraction coupling, right? So excitation contraction coupling, right? So whenever I am giving this name, that excitation contraction coupling, right, what comes into your mind, that if I do excitation, okay, if I do excitation, then the muscle is going to contract. Okay, class is for 1 hour, every class is for 1 hour duration, right? But if the discussion is going on, so it can go up to 1.5 hour also, no problem, right? So excitation contraction coupling means excitation leading to contraction of the muscle. Excitation leading to contraction of the muscle. So what do you mean by excitation? So excitation means you have to produce action potential, or you have to produce depolarization of the muscle membrane. So look at the basic level. We are starting from here. I'll take few minutes. So excitation means if you generate an action potential on muscle membrane, or if you causes depolarization of the muscle membrane, it is going to contract. It is going to causes contraction of the muscle. But we all know that whether it is cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, or smooth muscle, contraction require calcium ions presence in the cytoplasm. So basically, we are going to discuss in this topic that how the action potential or depolarization of the skeletal muscle or cardiac muscle or smooth muscle is going to release this calcium, and how this calcium is going to cause contraction. But actually, you know that how this calcium is going to cause contraction. All of you know this thing, that calcium will bind with the troponin C, and followed by the cross bridge cycling is there, actin myosin cross bridge cycling will be there. So that part, that after this calcium, how this contraction is occurring, that part is actually not part of the excitation contraction coupling. So in strict sense, if it is said that what is mean by excitation contraction coupling, simple, depolarization or excitation of the muscle is releasing calcium for contraction. That part is known as the excitation contraction coupling. How the calcium is doing contraction, that is in strict sense is not part of the excitation contraction coupling, right? So that will be a separate topic, but today we are going to discuss only this portion, that how action potential is releasing calcium in different muscle. And believe me, this is one of the important conceptual topic which has recently been asked in AIIMS entrance examination, and future also they are going to give you multiple questions from this topic. So we are going to discuss this topic in separate heading, means we are going to discuss Under the skeletal muscle, so I am taking one slide for skeletal muscle, excitation, contraction, coupling, EC, coupling, right? And in different slide, I am taking another slide, that is the cardiac muscle, okay? Excitation, contraction, coupling, right? These are the two. And at the end, we will discuss the smooth muscle, because smooth muscle is completely different from these two muscles, okay? So whether it is skeletal muscle or whether it is cardiac muscle, first of all, you know that this is the muscle membrane I am drawing, and then muscle membrane is invaginating inside the cytoplasm, and it is forming the muscle membrane again. See, whatever you are putting now, so it's a long question, okay? So at the end of the class, I will give you a separate minute, 5 to 10 minutes I'll give you for your question and queries from the topic and related topic, okay? So you can put there also, but will appear in it, I don't know, whatever, okay, whatever. So this is the skeletal muscle membrane. So skeletal muscle membrane means all of you know that this is known as this is nothing but sarcolemma, okay? Last minute. So this is sarcolemma, and similarly I'm drawing here also that this is my cardiac muscle cell membrane, and this is the invagination of the cell membrane. Now all of you know that this invagination portion, this is known as the T tubules, okay? This is known as the T tubules. All of you know this basic structural component. So this is also T tubules also, right? T tubules also. Now, if you have already noted my diagram, that what the diagram difference is there. Sir is drawing diagram, two diagrams, and there is some difference. Although I have made the T tubule in both the cases, but as you can find out here, the diameter of this T tubule is larger. The diameter of this T tubule is larger here, and the diameter of the T tubule is smaller here. Okay, smaller here. Okay, wide and narrow, and here it is narrow, right? So why it is narrow, I'll explain it later on, how to remember and what is the concept here. Now look at here. So first of all, I'm going to excite this skeletal muscle membrane. So all of you concentrate here, the skeletal muscle membrane I'm going to excite. Excite means what you are going to do, sir? I'm going to produce one action potential on this skeletal muscle membrane. How this action potential will be generated, that's a separate topic. All of you know that there will be a neuromuscular junction here. So imagine like this, that this is your motor neuron. Okay, so motor neuron has secreted the acetylcholine, and this acetylcholine is producing an action potential on this skeletal muscle membrane. So I'm drawing this action potential. Look at here my diagram carefully. So this is the typical diagram of the action potential. Action potential means what is going to happen. All of us know that there will be entry of tell me which ion. Action potential in skeletal muscle is based on which ion? Tell me everybody answer. Now you type your answer. Action potential on skeletal muscle based on which ion? Very good. Okay. So this is nothing but sodium ion is entering. Now I am asking you separate thing. Okay. Very good. All of you are given correct answer. Now I am asking, could you tell me what is the nature of this sodium channel? What type of sodium channel this is? Fast or slow variety? Fast or slow variety? Okay. So this is voltage gated, fast or slow variety? Fast type of sodium channel. Okay. Okay. I'm going in the next. Now look at here in the cardiac muscle. Look at the diagram. So again, there will be an action potential here. So this is the diagram of the action potential. Again, if I ask you, the ionic basis of action potential for cardiac muscle is which one? That is the sodium ion, and same type of fast sodium ion. It is not calcium. That was I want to say here, that if the question is action potential on cardiac muscle, myocardium is based on which ion, then we know the phase 0 is the main for action potential. Phase 0 is the main for action potential. So here, this phase is the main for action potential. Then the calcium will enter only in this plateau phase. So if I ask you that calcium can enter without this phase 0, answer is no. What is the ionic basis of phase 0? Sodium. So always remember, the phase 0 or the depolarization phase of the action potential is the main. So if the question is action potential on cardiac muscle is based on which ion, again your answer is sodium ion, and that is also a first sodium ion. Okay, no confusion. Whatever I am saying with enough confidence and with huge amount of reference, every book is saying so. If the question is what is the ionic basis of nodal tissue action potential, SA node and AB node, then your answer is calcium. If the question is what is the ionic basis of action potential of smooth muscle, then again your answer is calcium. So this is a separate MCQ. We are not going to discuss this topic, but this is just to clear your confusion, because student has a tendency that if you don't clear at this point only, they will start thinking this and they will ignore the topic which we are discussing now. So what is my bottom line? Bottom line is that skeletal muscle, look at here where I have reached skeletal muscle, action potential is based on sodium ion. Cardiac muscle, action potential is also based on sodium ion. Now I am asking, tell me which subtype of voltage gated sodium ion this is. Which subtype in case of cardiac muscle and which subtype in case of skeletal muscle. Anybody could name the subtype of this voltage gated sodium channel? No. This sodium channel sub variety is there. NAV. Look at NAV, that is the voltage gated sodium channel. Excellent, Dr. Shiv. And this is 1.4 subtype is there. This we have discussed. I have discussed in one of my clinical neurophysiology classes that there are total 9 subvariety of voltage gated sodium channel. Are you listening? There are total altogether 9 subvariety of voltage gated sodium channel, and they name like this: 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.9 up to. Now note down the first difference which are important for your MCQ, that in skeletal muscle voltage gated sodium channel is NAV, that is the voltage gated 1.4. In case of cardiac muscle, could you name me the voltage gated sodium channel? NAV 1.5. So you have to remember this specifically separately, because you know the all other sodium channel, what I'm saying, all other sodium channel, type 1, type 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, okay, 1.1, and then 1.8, 9, all of them, apart from this 4 and 5, right, they are present on neurons. So any kind of pain sensation or any kind of action potential on neuron is based on the other subvariety of the channel. So what is my bottom line? Bottom line is that if it is cardiac muscle, this is 1.5. I am not going to forget this voltage gated sodium channel, right? For skeletal muscle, what I am going to remember, I am not going to forget that this is 1.4 voltage gated sodium channel. Please don't forget, because these two are the very, very specific. The other one like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, then 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, and 1.9. All of them are present on neurons. All of them are present in neurons. Okay, so please don't forget this concept. Now all of you know that there is a drug, that is the lignocaine, that also block the voltage gated sodium channel, which is used for the local anesthesia, as well as it is also used for the cardiac purpose also, okay, cardiac arrhythmia also. That means that is a drug, lignocaine, that can block almost all of these voltage gated sodium channel, non-specific blocker. But if you want to block only specific channel, suppose you want to reduce the pain sensation in the body, then you have to target this voltage gated sodium channel, not the other one. Because if by mistake, if you are blocking this one or this one, then the skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle is also going to suffer from the side effect. That is the basic concept of this subvariety of voltage gated sodium channel. Okay, so detailed version I have discussed in one of the YouTube session, clinical neurophysiology part 1, under this Unacademy platform. You can go through there. I have discussed this detail and their mutation also, right? So here what we have discussed till now, we have reached up to this point that cardiac muscle voltage gated sodium channel is 1.5 and skeletal muscle 1.4. But whatever, forget about this. Whenever this voltage gated sodium channel is open, I know the sodium is entering. That means it is going to causes depolarization of this skeletal muscle membrane as well as depolarization of this T-tubule. Same thing is going to happen here, that there will be depolarization of this skeletal cardiac muscle membrane plus depolarization of this T-tubule membrane. Now, second thing is that at the level of this T-tubule membrane, there is a channel here on skeletal muscle membrane. Name the channel. Name this channel. There is a calcium channel here on this T-tubule membrane. Name this channel. So you have type the short form of this channel. Everybody, I'm waiting. Exactly. This is DHPR. This is my DHPR. So I'm writing on this T-tubular membrane, the channel which is located, this is nothing but DHPR. Okay, so now look at here, DHPR. All of you know the full name, that is the dihydropyridine receptor, dihydropyridine receptor channel. This channel, what is this? What is this? This is nothing but a calcium channel. This is nothing but a calcium channel, and this is also a voltage gated calcium channel. So look at how I am writing. Everybody, don't try to write down something now. Try to remember that DHPR channel is a calcium channel and it's a voltage gated. So look at the similarity, how these channels are written. CAV, that means that is a voltage gated channel. But this variety of channel which is present on the skeletal muscle is 1.1 subtype of voltage gated sodium channel. Okay, very good, Dr. Santanu. So this is DHPR 1.1, CAV 1.1. Look at the cardiac muscle. So again, the cardiac muscle will have the similar kind of channel, but look at my diagram. I'm drawing this channel a little different. I'm drawing this channel a little different. It is looking like a containing a central pore. Okay, in the first channel, I have not done any pore in this channel, but in the cardiac muscle, I am making this channel a little different, because here again the channel is DHPR only. Again the channel is voltage gated calcium channel only. So this is DHPR channel only, but here this is CAV 1.2. Okay, CAV 1.2. So the CAV 1.2 variety, this is also present in smooth muscle. So what we have learned so far, there are very specific channel in specific cell membrane. The T-tubule membrane contains DHPR, but the DHPR of the cardiac muscle is 1.2 and the DHPR of the skeletal muscle is 1.1. And because of the difference in the nature of this channel, they behave differently in presence of their stimulation. Getting my point? Because the channel substrate is different. So channel substrate is different means their protein structure is different, and that's why they behave differently in presence of voltage. Although both of them voltage gated channel, but they behave differently, right? Now the second thing is that in skeletal muscle also and in cardiac muscle also, what we know, that just opposite to this T-tubule membrane, there is the sarcoplasmic reticulum located. So this is my sarcoplasmic reticulum. All of you know that sarcoplasmic reticulum is also known as the L tubules of membrane. This is also known as the L tubules of skeletal muscle cell. L tubules or longitudinal tubules. At the end of this L tubule, this portion, this is known as the cisterna. So this spherical portion, cisterna. So this is the area where huge amount of calcium store is there. So this is the area where huge amount of calcium is there. This spherical part which are present at the end of this sarcoplasmic reticulum, they are known as the cisterna. So what is my bottom line? My bottom line is that the T-tubule is there, and surrounding this T-tubule, there is cisterna. There is cisterna, and cisterna is part of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcoplasmic reticulum is also known as the L tubules or longitudinal tubules. Okay. In case of skeletal muscle, the T-tubule will be surrounded by sarcoplasmic reticulum on both sides. Okay, but in case of cardiac muscle, this T-tubule will be surrounded by sarcoplasmic reticulum, same sarcoplasmic reticulum, but it will be surrounded on only one side only. The other side sarcoplasmic reticulum will not be present. So this is again my sarcoplasmic reticulum or L tubules. Okay, but what I'm saying here, I am saying that in case of cardiac muscle, look at, this is one T-tubule and this is another sarcoplasmic reticulum. So this is one, and this is two structure, they are integrated into a unit. That's why this unit is known as the dyadic junction between T tubules and L tubules in case of cardiac muscle. But in case of skeletal muscle, what I have seen, this is the T tubule. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So T tubule is surrounded by two sarcoplasmic reticulum. That's why if you say this is number 1 structure, then this is number 2 structure, this is number 3 structure. That means 3 structure, all these 3 structure, they are making a single unit. That's why we say that skeletal muscle means they are the triadic junction between T and L tubule. Triad, okay? And in case of cardiac muscle, this is the dyad. Now, whether it is triad or dyad, we know that just opposite to this DHPR channel, the channel which is present here, it is known as the ryanodine receptor channel, RYR channel. And in case of cardiac muscle also, the same type of channel is present, that is the RYR channel. This is ryanodine receptor channel. But what is the difference? Again, if you look at the skeletal muscle ryanodine receptor channel, RYR subtype 1. Okay. In cardiac muscle, the RYR subvariety 2 is there. And in case of smooth muscle, RYR subvariety 3 is there. So I'm writing here RYR 3 is present in case of smooth muscle. Okay, so again there is difference between muscle to muscle, so you must have to remember this thing. Okay, so if you are thinking of the skeletal muscle, your DHPR is 1.1, so again it's a confusing, so you have to remember them carefully. Okay, so if you are thinking of skeletal muscle, voltage gated sodium channel is 1.4. This is for quick revision. Then DHPR channel is CAV 1.1 and RYR is one type of channel. On cardiac muscle, the voltage gated sodium channel is 1.5. Here it is 1.2 and the RYR is also 2. So these are the basic thing first you have to remember. Now you look at. So whenever the action potential is coming, everybody follow here. Whenever the action potential is coming here, it is causing depolarization of this T tubular membrane. This depolarization activate this DHPR channel. So what I'm saying, the depolarization is activating this DHPR channel. Then what this DHPR channel will do, this DHPR channel will change its conformation and it will interact mechanically or physically with RYR channel. Most important thing I am telling you now. So what I'm saying, look at this diagram, look at here. So this is the DHPR channel and this is the RYR channel. They are very close to each other. And it is said that the distance between this DHPR and RYR. Okay, so I'm taking one separate slide for this discussion. Suppose this is T tubule, okay, and this is DHPR channel, right? So just opposite to this DHPR, this is the RYR channel. The distance between these two is only 15 nanometer. Okay, but in case of skeletal muscle, what is happening? Whenever there is activation of this channel, it changes its conformation. The DHPR changes its conformation. So it's a protein molecule. Channel means it's composed of protein, so it will changes its conformation. Because of the conformation change, what will happen? There will be extension of some processes like this from this DHPR channel, and this processes is going to interact with the RYR channel. Because of this interaction, what will happen? This RYR channel will open up. So this RYR channel will open up, and because of the opening of this RYR channel, what is going to happen? The calcium is going to enter into the cytoplasm. Getting my point? So this thing I was telling you here, that whenever there is activation of these T tubules, what do you mean by activation? Depolarization. This depolarization is activating this DHPR. Because of this activation, DHPR is changing its conformation. This conformation change is leading to interaction of this DHPR with this RYR, and this interaction is the physical interaction or mechanical interaction. And because of this mechanical interaction, what is going to happen? The RYR channel is going to open, and because of this opening of the RYR channel, calcium is going to enter from this sarcoplasmic reticulum into the cytoplasm of the cell. And because the calcium entry, what will happen? The muscle contraction will start. So this is the interaction. So what I told so far, I told that whenever there is an action potential, there will be DHPR activation, right? So this DHPR activation means what is going to happen? There will be conformation change. Of DHPR channel. And because of this conformation change, DHPR interact with RYR. This kind of interaction is a mechanical interaction or physical interaction. And because of this interaction, what is going to happen? RYR going to open up. And because of this RYR opening, what is happening? The calcium entry is going to happen in the cytoplasm, and this will lead to contraction of this muscle. So what is my bottom line? Bottom line is that in presence of electrical activation, so now the bottom line, in presence of electrical activation of this membrane, okay, T-tubule membrane, there is electrical activation of this DHPR channel, and this DHPR channel is interacting mechanically with RYR, and this is leading to coupling between this DHPR and RYR. So my bottom line is that in skeletal muscle, DHPR RYR coupling is electromechanical coupling, or if electro word you don't want to use, then it is simple mechanical coupling. So if I ask you DHPR and RYR, they are interacting by which means? They are interacting by mechanical means. They are interacting by mechanical means. But when this interaction will occur in presence of electrical activation, that's why it is known as electromechanical coupling in case of skeletal muscle. Everybody got this thing clear or not? Just tell me whether you got this thing. Give me a thumbs up whether you understood this or not. That electromechanical, what is the basis? Electro means electrical activation of the DHPR. Mechanical means DHPR is interacting with RYR by mechanical means, physical means, directly extending the processes. That's why this mechanism is known as the electromechanical coupling between DHPR and RYR. And then when the calcium is released, this calcium is going to contract, because all of you know this mechanism now. This calcium is going to bind with the troponin C, and then that will lead to the sequence of event, and that will lead to ultimately contraction of the muscle. That is the bottom line of skeletal muscle. Then what or how it is different in case of skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, how this contraction or this coupling is different in case of cardiac muscle. Look at here, okay. So now here I have activated this T tubules here. Because of this T tubule activation, DHPR will also activated. So again the same thing, action potential leading to activation of DHPR. But here this DHPR is a different variety, because this is 1.2. Because of the different nature of this DHPR, what is going to happen? Whenever you activate this DHPR, it is going to open up. So whenever your DHPR is opening up, what will happen? The calcium from the extracellular fluid is going to enter inside the cell cytoplasm. So what is the source of this calcium? This calcium is coming from your blood, or this calcium is coming from your extracellular fluid. So this calcium is entering through this DHPR channel into the cytoplasm. It was not there in case of skeletal muscle. That's why I told you that in case of skeletal muscle, this DHPR channel, I'm not making any pore here, because calcium is not going to enter. But in cardiac muscle, calcium is going to enter through these T tubules, and then calcium is going to enter through this DHPR whenever there is activation. So here I'm writing that activation of the DHPR leads to opening of DHPR channel. Then whenever there is opening, what is going to happen? Calcium entry. This calcium is coming from extracellular fluid. Then what this calcium is going to do? Remember this RYR subvariety 2. Remember the RYR subvariety 2, that is known as calcium induced calcium channel or calcium gated calcium channel. What do you mean by that? Means the calcium which has entered from outside, now this calcium is going to stimulate this RYR channel. This calcium is going to stimulate this RYR channel. Again, I am repeating here. So this calcium which is entering from outside, this calcium is ultimately going to stimulate this RYR channel. That's why I told you that if I ask you what is the nature of this RYR2 channel, RYR2 channel is a calcium gated calcium channel, meaning, getting my word, calcium, gated calcium channel means one calcium is opening the gate of other calcium. That's why this is known as the calcium gated calcium channel. Okay, now whenever you open up this RYR channel, the same thing is going to happen. That means there will be entry of further calcium from sarcoplasmic reticulum into the cytoplasm of the cell. And now both of this calcium, now combination of this green and combination of this blue color calcium, combination of both of them is going to causes contraction of the skeletal muscle. So what I'm going to write here, the calcium which has entered from outside, this calcium entry, now this calcium is going to stimulate. Now calcium stimulates RYR2 channel. Because of this calcium stimulation of RYR2 channel, RYR2 opening occurs. Because of this RYR2 opening, further calcium enter into the cytoplasm, and then it is going to cause contraction. Now tell me, are you getting any physical intimacy between this DHPR and ROIR? Are you getting any physical intimacy? Like for skeletal muscle, we are getting the physical intimation here. They are physical with one another. But in case of cardiac muscle, so if this is the T tubule, this is DHPR, they are very, very professional. They will do their job, but they are not going to do any physical intimacy here. So it is here, but they are not going to do any physical intimacy. But how they are connected? First, the calcium is entering from here, then this calcium is going to stimulate here, and because of that, further calcium is going to enter. So now if I ask you here one important question, that what is the source of calcium? What is the source of calcium in case of this skeletal muscle, and what is the source of calcium for in case of cardiac muscle? So this is my cardiac muscle and this is my skeletal muscle. Now tell me, what is the source of contraction for skeletal muscle calcium? What is the source in skeletal muscle? Tell me, what is the source? Okay, this is only and only sarcoplasmic reticulum. Only and only sarcoplasmic reticulum means 100% calcium is supplied by sarcoplasmic reticulum, no extracellular calcium. But in case of cardiac muscle, look at here, calcium is entering from the ECF. So exactly, very good, all of you are giving correct answers. So this is coming from the ECF. That means you have understood the topic, and it is also coming from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now note down the percentage both. But extracellular calcium is only 20%. Oh my god, you know this thing, whole thing, and this is 80%. That means in case of cardiac muscle, if the question is what is the major source of calcium for cardiac muscle contraction, your answer is sarcoplasmic reticulum. What is the major source of calcium for skeletal muscle contraction? Only and only one source, that is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So in both the cases, major source of calcium is sarcoplasmic calcium. But you know that in case of cardiac muscle, the importance of this extracellular calcium is that, note down everybody, that it is the extracellular calcium which is entering into the cell, although the amount is less, but this calcium is going to open up further calcium, and if this further calcium is not entering, then the contraction is not going to happen properly. Because the extracellular calcium, you are thinking that what about this extracellular calcium, can it causes contraction? Answer is no, it is only 20% calcium. It cannot causes full contraction of the cardiac muscle. So further or maximum contraction, full contraction of the cardiac muscle require this sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium also. That means I can understand that if this ECF calcium is not entering, in the cardiac muscle contraction is not going to happen. That's why all of you know that in cardiac muscle, if the blood calcium is less, cardiac muscle contraction is also going to suffer. If the blood calcium is zero, theoretically, the scientists have proved that if the blood calcium or if the ECF calcium is zero, then heart is going to stop. But if the ECF calcium is zero in case of skeletal muscle, is it going to suffer from any kind of problem? Answer is no. Skeletal muscle is not going to suffer from any kind of problem if the calcium is less in the blood or more in the blood, because here the 100% source of calcium is nothing but sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium. But some of the students may getting this concept that, sir, then why there is tetany? We know that there is tetany in case of hypocalcemia. In case of skeletal muscle, tetany is nothing but contraction of the skeletal muscle in case of hypocalcemia. Just now we are saying that if my ECF calcium is low here in case of skeletal muscle, then skeletal muscle contraction is not going to hamper. But why there is tetany? My answer is tetany is due to hyper excitability of this neuron. Tetany or hypocalcemia is going to causes hyper excitability of this neuron, my dear. It is not going to affect the skeletal muscle. If the neuron become hyper excitable, then it will release more and more acetylcholine in presence of little stimulus. And because of acetylcholine release, what is going to happen? There is no problem in the skeletal muscle. So skeletal muscle is going to contract. And that is the mechanism of tetany. So detailed version, I'm not going to discuss here because it will take time. But just remember, hypocalcemia does not affect the skeletal muscle directly. Hypo or hypercalcemia or blood calcium is not going to affect the skeletal muscle directly, but the hypocalcemia is going to affect the neuron which is supplying the skeletal muscle. Because of this neuronal hyperexcitability in presence of hypocalcemia, the skeletal muscle contraction can happen more, and that is nothing but your tetany. That is nothing but your tetany. Okay, so this calcium balance we can take a separate class, but this is the basic or bottom line here. Okay, so what I told already. So here, if the question is what is the essential source of cardiac muscle contraction, essential source of cardiac muscle contraction, then your answer is ECF calcium. Now we got the gist, I think, that if this ECF calcium is not entering inside the cardiac muscle, then cardiac muscle contraction is not going to happen. That's why it is said that essential source of calcium is the ECF calcium. But if the question is dominant source or the major source of calcium for cardiac muscle contraction, then your answer is sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium. Don't forget these two separate MCQ. This is going to come in your examination. Now you look at again in the bottom line or basic diagram. So in cardiac muscle, what I got to know? I got to know that 20% calcium is coming from the ECF and 80% calcium is sarcoplasmic reticulum. And in case of skeletal muscle, 100% calcium is from sarcoplasmic reticulum. So what do you think? Sarcoplasmic reticulum will be larger in which muscle? Sarcoplasmic reticulum should be larger or bigger in which muscle, or volume of sarcoplasmic reticulum will be larger or bigger in which muscle? Okay. Sarcoplasmic reticulum will be larger or bigger in which muscle? If I understand from this that 100% source of calcium is sarcoplasmic reticulum, but in case of cardiac muscle only 80% source of calcium is given by sarcoplasmic reticulum. So obviously the sarcoplasmic reticulum is larger in case of this skeletal muscle, and sarcoplasmic reticulum obviously will be smaller in case of cardiac muscle. Then second question I am asking that calcium is entering from ECA only in case of cardiac muscle contraction. So what you require for the entry of this calcium, where from this calcium is entering? The calcium is entering through this T tubule only. So if the calcium has to enter through this T tubule, so what you require? What should be the diameter of these T tubules? What should be the diameter of this T tubule in case of cardiac muscle? But look at here, in case of skeletal muscle, the calcium is not entering from outside, so you does not require the bigger diameter of the T tubule. That's why T tubules is very wide and large diameter in case of cardiac muscle, but in case of skeletal muscle, the T tubule is smaller. Getting my point? Okay, so these are the basic things. If you understand the concept between this excitation, contraction, coupling, then the structural difference you also going to remember in a backward manner. Okay, so this is the wide bore, wide diameter T tubule in case of cardiac muscle. Now, so cardiac muscle mechanism of this DHPR and RYR coupling is very, very different from skeletal muscle. Okay, they are not doing any physical interaction, that we have understood. Okay, so what we have understood, again I am repeating once again: action potential in case of cardiac muscle leading to activation of DHPR, that is leading to DHPR opening, calcium entry, that calcium is stimulating the ROIR, and then ROIR opening further. So tell me how these DHPR, now this is the question in front of you, how these DHPR and RYR, how they are interacting with one another in case of this cardiac muscle. Mechanical or something else? Mechanical or something else? Exactly, exactly. Very good, very good, very good, my dear student. So here they are interacting by some chemical interaction. They are by some chemical. What chemical? Calcium is the chemical here. Calcium is the chemical. But this DHPR and RYR, they are interacting with one another by the presence of calcium. That's why I'm putting this word chemical interaction. But just now we have understood that this chemical interaction will occur only in presence of. So that's why this is known as electrochemical coupling. Electrochemical coupling in case of cardiac muscle. But most of the books is not writing this electrochemical word. Rather than this electrochemical coupling, this portion, note down this portion, they are using a separate term. This is known as CICR. What is CICR? Calcium induced calcium release. So what is this CICR? This is calcium, C for calcium, I for induced. Calcium induced, again C, that is again calcium, and R is a release. What I'm saying, note down this phenomena. So calcium is entering from outside. This calcium is opening the RYR. That means the outside calcium which has entered into the cytoplasm. This calcium is opening the further calcium release. This outside calcium is helping the further calcium release. This phenomena is known as calcium induced calcium release. So again I am saying the coupling between DHPR and RYR, the coupling between DHPR and RYR is electrochemical coupling. But most of the books, rather than this electrochemical coupling, they are using this term, that is calcium induced calcium release. What do you mean by calcium? So first calcium. So if I ask you here, everybody answer. So calcium induced calcium release. What about this first calcium? This is ECF calcium or sarcoplasmic calcium? Calcium induced calcium release. First calcium, this is ECF calcium. Excellent, my dear student, everybody. So this calcium is inducing the further opening of calcium. The second calcium is which calcium? Second calcium is the sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium. Okay, so that's why although the amount of first calcium is less, but this first calcium is essential for cardiac muscle contraction. The second calcium is the major source of calcium for cardiac muscle contraction. Now I hope this is clear to everybody. I'll extend this discussion a little more, but I hope this is clear to everybody. Just give me a nod whether you understood this thing clearly or not. Okay, if you have any question arising in your brain, I'll give you 5 minutes at the end of the class. You can put your question there. I'll be happy to answer as far as my knowledge, right? But this is the bottom line that you have to remember, right? So this is the mechanism. Now, so we have discussed the skeletal muscle, we have discussed the cardiac muscle. Now obviously in your mind it is going on that what about smooth muscle, sir? What about smooth muscle, sir? Okay, so if I don't discuss the smooth muscle also, then the discussion will be incomplete. So what about smooth muscle, sir? So first of all of you know that smooth muscle means the T tubules is not there. Okay, so this is the smooth muscle membrane. T tubules is not there, but rather than T tubule, there is a depressed area on the membrane of the smooth muscle. So this is my smooth muscle membrane. There is a depression. Exactly. Oh my God. So this is known as caveoli. Okay, caveoli, and this caveoli is the location for voltage gated calcium channel. So this is the location for voltage gated calcium channel. What subvariety? I told you earlier that 1.1 is for skeletal muscle, 1.2 is for myocardium, and same thing 1.2 is for smooth muscle also. Okay, so pretty confusing. So here 1.2 is also present. 1.2 is also present in case of cardiac muscle. So the same type of calcium channel is present in case of smooth muscle also. RYR3 is here, but here 1.3 is not. Okay, so now again I am drawing the same thing, that is the sarcoplasmic reticulum here. So this is my sarcoplasmic reticulum. We all know that sarcoplasmic reticulum is not well developed in case of smooth muscle. So this is my sarcoplasmic reticulum. So again, what will happen? The sarcoplasmic reticulum will have the receptor for calcium release, and that is RYR3. That is the ryanodine receptor type 3. Getting my point? So first interaction, that whenever there is depolarization of the smooth muscle membrane. Okay. Now one very important thing is there. In smooth muscle membrane, depolarization is required. Even if the action potential is not occurring, the smooth muscle can contract. Very peculiar phenomena I'm saying. What I told that in smooth muscle, even in the absence of action potential, the depolarization or the local potential can produce smooth muscle contraction. Okay, so action potential is not essential for smooth muscle contraction, but it is essential for skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle. Some of the smooth muscle can contract even in the absence of action potential. Only the local depolarization is sufficient for smooth muscle contraction. Okay, action potential, if it is appearing, well and good, then the depolarization will occur. There is no problem. But even if action potential is not there, some of the multi-unit smooth muscle, like the smooth muscles of the eye, they can produce contraction even in the absence of action potential. Multi-unit smooth muscle. Okay, so how this is happening? If there is local depolarization, suppose the local depolarization is going on, this voltage gated calcium channel will open up. Because of this opening up, what will happen? The calcium is entering from outside. So this is which calcium? This is the calcium which is coming from the extracellular fluid calcium. Now this calcium, note down the phenomena, this calcium is going to stimulate this RYR channel. Because of this stimulation, further calcium is going to enter in the cytoplasm from RYR. What is the name of this mechanism? Everybody try to answer. Exactly. Write down the short form. Everybody tell me the answer. What is the answer? What is the name of this mechanism? Yes. Great. So this is nothing but my CICR, right? So CICR, calcium induced calcium release, it is one of the major phenomena in cardiac muscle, although it is also seen in case of smooth muscle. So this is the mechanism. Now second, so this is calcium induced calcium release, right? Now in smooth muscle membrane, we know there are some receptor present. You know that smooth muscle is stimulated in presence of norepinephrine, okay, or in presence of acetylcholine, like this. So smooth muscle can be stimulated by various drugs, various neurotransmitter, okay, epinephrine, norepinephrine, okay, acetylcholine, where there are various drugs which can stimulate the various smooth muscle. How that drug induced or neurotransmitter induced smooth muscle contraction occurs? Again, it does not require action potential. Suppose I am giving acetylcholine and your GI smooth muscle is contracting, as action potential may or may not appear. Suppose I am giving some drug which is causing contraction of the smooth muscle, action potential may or may not appear. That's why I was saying that in smooth muscle, some of the multi-unit smooth muscle, okay, action potential is not essential for the contraction of the muscle. Then how the smooth muscle will contract? So this is the receptor. receptor is attached with the G protein. So this is a G protein coupled receptor. This G protein is connected with the effector molecule. What is the effector molecule? Phospholipase C here. We know that whenever phospholipase C act on, what will happen? It will produce second messenger. What is the second messenger? IP3, that is the inositol triphosphate, and that is the DAG, diacyl glycerol. This DAG, it is going to activate the protein kinase C, and this protein kinase C will do different job in the smooth muscle. But we are not interested in this part here. But this IP3, note down, note down, note down. AIIMS PG question, PGI Chandigarh question, both the question. IP3, inositol triphosphate, they have their receptor on this sarcoplasmic reticulum membrane. So what is this? This is inositol triphosphate receptor. The same receptor is going to be activated by this IP3. So whenever this is activated, the same IP3 receptor is going to act as a channel, and through this channel further calcium is going to enter. Further calcium is going to enter. So what is the bottom line mechanism? Bottom line mechanism is that suppose you are giving some agonist, to this receptor. What is going to happen? This G protein is going to be stimulated. It is going to activate the PLC, phospholipase C. This phospholipase C is producing IP3 and DAG. IP3 is going to act on its receptor. Where the receptor is located? Sarcoplasmic reticulum membrane. Whenever the receptor is activated, further calcium is going to enter into the cytoplasm. Further calcium is going to, what is the GPRCR name? This is the GQ. This is the GQ. Okay, so G protein is a detailed discussion again. You require, if it is a PL, if it is an adenylyl cyclase, that is the GS and GI, and if it is, because it is activating the effector PLC, this is the GQ molecule, right? GQ, right? G protein coupled receptor is always serpentine. Okay, we are not going to discuss in the sideline discussion. Always this G protein receptor, it passes the membrane 7 times. That's why we say that is a serpentine receptor. Okay, 7 times it passes the membrane. That's why it is known as a serpentine receptor. But whatever, whenever the agonist is attached, look at the core mechanism here. That the IP3 is produced. This IP3 is going to act on its receptor. What is receptor? It's a calcium channel. Again, a calcium channel. But this calcium channel is the IP3 receptor itself. So further calcium is going to enter. And the last mechanism. So this is not at all. Smooth muscle also have a separate mechanism. Okay. So this is known as store operated calcium release mechanism. What I told, this is known as the store operated calcium release mechanism. Whenever there is less amount of calcium stored inside this sarcoplasmic reticulum, what I'm saying, whenever this calcium stored is depleted inside the sarcoplasmic reticulum, right, there is a special group of channel on this smooth muscle membrane. It will open up, and through this channel further calcium can enter from outside into the cell. This is known as store operated calcium release. Store operated calcium release. So what is the bottom line? Bottom line here, that sources of calcium for smooth muscle contraction. So multiple sources. Okay, so number one sources is the CaV1.2. This calcium is coming from ECF, extracellular fluid. Then second source of calcium is sarcoplasmic reticulum. So the sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium release occur by two phenomena, that is CICR, calcium induced calcium release, and the second phenomena is which one? IP3 mediated calcium release. And what is the third one? The third one is the store operated calcium release. So this is all about the calcium release mechanism. So now the bottom line is that, if I ask you, then sir, what is the bottom line here? What is the coupling between DHPR and RYR here? What kind of name you are going to give here? Now my answer, because the T tubules is not well formed in case of smooth muscle, and because this DHPR and this RYR, they are not very close to each other, we do not give any kind of coupling between DHPR and ROIR name. We do not give any kind of name, but there is a separate naming system here. That naming is known as pharmacomechanical coupling. I'm taking one color. So that is known as pharmacomechanical coupling. Now here you have to note down that this coupling, pharmacomechanical coupling, this coupling is not the coupling between DHPR and ROER. This coupling is not the coupling between DHPR and ROER, because the DHPR and ROER, they are not very close to each other. That's why we do not give this kind of coupling name. But here, pharmaco means the agonist. This is the drug, pharmacological agent. In presence of pharmacological agent, just we told you that even in the absence of action potential, mechanical contraction can occur in the smooth muscle. To give a separate name to this separate phenomena, that in presence of pharmacological agent, muscle is going to contract. That means pharmacological stimulation of this agonist receptor is producing mechanical contraction, So here the coupling is not between DHPR and ROER. Here the coupling is pharmacomechanical. Coupling means pharmacological agent is causing stimulation, is stimulating the contractile apparatus. So here the mechanical interaction means mechanical interaction with the contractile apparatus, not the contraction between DHPR and ROIR. Okay, so this is the bottom line of the smooth muscle pharmacomechanical contraction. GQ is activated by various receptor. You have to look at them. Not only M3, there are others. M variety receptor are also there. So now I hope everything is clear to you. Just give me. So associate, this is a separate mechanism. Whenever the store is depleted, whenever the store is less, whenever the store of the calcium is less in the smooth muscle cell, it can send a signal to this receptor, and via this signal, the further calcium can enter inside the cytoplasm of the cell. This is known as store operated calcium release. This is known as the store operated calcium release. So I hope this is clear to all of you. I have a question out of track that, I'm not going to read all of this thing. I pass MBBS, then my family ultimately MD physiology, then confused, please. Okay, so after MD physiology, only one thing, that is the teaching job in some medical colleges. Okay, this looks very strange, but that is the only thing. Okay, the research option and all of this, they are very low. So third source of calcium. Now you can ask the question. If something is coming in your mind. Right? Okay. You can contact me if you have some separate question apart from this topic. You can contact me from Unacademy Learner platform. Okay, so the source of Ca from associate, that is the ECF calcium. Source of Ca from associate is the ECF calcium. Okay, I told you here that it is the signal from this sarcoplasmic reticulum to this channel. Because of them, the calcium is entering. So this is the ECF calcium. So please explain the hyperexcitability of the neuron in case of hypocalcemia. You know that neuron contain, okay, so the neuron contain one receptor. So if this is the neuronal membrane contain this voltage gated sodium channel. So NAV, voltage gated sodium channel, maybe 1.1, maybe 1.2, etc. Right? So what happened when your blood calcium level is normal? This calcium is remain attached on the outer mouth of this voltage gated sodium channel. It remain attached on the outer mouth of the voltage gated sodium channel. Okay, when the blood calcium is normal. So if it is attached on the outer mouth, so what is happening to the permeability of this channel? The permeability of the channel is less. I can understand. Then the permeability of the channel is less permeable, right? Now think of if whenever the blood calcium is low, now again the voltage gated sodium channel is there. Now the main target is that to maintain the blood calcium. So what will happen? The sodium which was attached here, the sodium will be detached from this voltage gated sodium channel, and because of this detachment of the voltage gated sodium from the voltage gated calcium channel, okay, because of the detachment of the telling everything wrong. So because of the detachment of this, because of the detachment of the calcium from this voltage gated sodium channel, what is going to happen? There will be increased permeability. There will be increased permeability of this channel, because of this increased permeability, nerve become hyper excitable, and that's why, even if you give a little stimulation on this facial nerve, the facial muscle is going to cause a spasm. Okay, chopstick and Strozier sign, that whenever you compress here, there will be spasm of this corpus spatium, and that other thing which is happening because of the excitation of this neuron. If this neuron is excited more and more, what will happen? It will causes contraction of the muscle more and more, right? So again, the thing is that tetanus, clonus, spasm, it require a separate class of 1 hour. Okay, it's not possible now, but future I will try to plan. I have given this whole discussion in the plus courses. Okay, I have given the whole discussion in the plus courses, but this is the bottom line of basic discussion here. Okay, it requires a long time, so I'm not going to discuss here. But one thing you must have to remember, that if there is mutation of this RYR, okay, all of you know this mechanism, that if there is mutation, okay, what is the bottom line? Tell me. Mutation of RYR1. Tell me the disease. Right? Exactly. So there is two type of mutation. If there is gain of mutation, okay, and if there is loss of mutation. So gain of mutation, all of you are giving answer. That is malignant hyperthermia. That whenever you give certain kind of anesthetic agent like halothane, okay, they are going to produce severe calcium release. And if there is loss of functional mutation of this RYR1 channel, then the disease is known as central core disease. There will be weakness of skeletal muscle in this disorder. So you have to remember two diseases if there is mutation of this RYR channel 1. That is, gain of functional mutation is producing malignant hyperthermia, and loss of functional mutation is producing central core diseases. Loss of functional mutation is causing central core diseases. Now, everybody, again you look at the board. After the contraction is over, okay, so we have discussed the whole phenomenon. Now look at the skeletal muscle again. So calcium enter into the cytoplasm, okay, and it causes contraction of the skeletal muscle. After contraction, what is going to happen? How the muscle is going to be relaxed? The basic mechanism is that this calcium will again mopped up by this sarcoplasmic reticulum by a pump that is nothing but SERCA, SERCA pump. The SERCA pump which is present on skeletal muscle, that is the SERCA1 variety. SERCA1 variety, right? In case of cardiac muscle, look at what are the source of calcium. What are the source of calcium in cardiac muscle? Look at what are the source of calcium. Two sources. So one sources is that this is the calcium. So one calcium will enter into this sarcoplasmic reticulum by SERCA2A variety. So this is one source of calcium. And another source of calcium, it has entered into the cytoplasm from ECF. So I have to remove this calcium out of this cell membrane. So this is my cell membrane. I have to remove this calcium out of this cell membrane, and this removal is done by calcium is going out along with sodium is coming in. This is known as NCX, sodium calcium exchanger. So my bottom line here is that relaxation, okay, of skeletal muscle is only and only done by SERCA1, right? And the relaxation of cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is done by SERCA2A variety as well as NCX, sodium calcium exchanger pump, right? Mutation of this SER1, mutation of this ACR1 leads to a disease which is known as BRODY, Brodys myopathies. Brodys myopathies. So what will happen? What is the role of this Sarca pump? What is the role of this Sarca pump? Sarca pump is mopping up the calcium into the sarcoplasmic reticulum after the contraction is there. That means this Sarca pump is responsible for relaxation. So if there is mutation of this Sarca pump, there is loss of functional mutation. So what will happen? The Sarca pump will not be able to relax the muscle. So what symptoms the patient is going to have? There will be spasm of the skeletal muscle because contraction is going on. After contraction, muscle is not relaxing. So what is happening? What is happening? There is spasm of the muscle, and the typical symptoms of this Brodys myopathy is exercise induced spasm of skeletal muscle. Exercise induced spasm of skeletal muscle is seen in Brodys myopathies, and in long term, because multiple spasm, there may be formation of contracture. There may be formation of contracture in case of skeletal muscle, which is seen in case of Brodys myopathy, right? So this is all about today's discussion. I hope everybody understood everything. If you have any queries, you can ask. Now, Dr. Bharat, your question require another discussion. You are probably going to ask phospholamban protein, which is going to control this Sarca pump 2A in cardiac muscle. Okay, so that's required time. Okay. What about smooth muscle? Smooth muscle, this Sarca pump 2A and 2B both are there. In smooth muscle, where is my smooth muscle? Where is my smooth muscle? Okay, in case of smooth muscle, right? SERCA 2A, 2B, both varieties there, as well as NCX pump is also there. NCX pump is also there. Sarca 2A, 2B, both are there. So this is all for smooth muscle relaxation. Okay, so this is all about for today's class. Now everything we have discussed, and this is the reference. This is from Burney and Levy. This is from Burney and Levy. So he's the only book who is using this word, the electrochemical coupling and electromechanical coupling. But I told you most of the books, rather than this electrochemical coupling, they are using the word CICR. And electromechanical coupling, this is used by every books, and that is happening in case of skeletal muscle. Right? So now for your paid classes, that is the plus courses. So this was a kind of demo classes. In case of paid classes, we discussed the detailed version of everything. Okay, so 2 paid classes I am going to take. That is, one is the crash course on physiology for NEET PG 2021. This is going to start in the month of the September, followed by there will be a course based on MCQ physiology, and that will be start on the month of November. So this is a jam-packed session. You can join this session for paid classes, and please use my code if you want to join this session, that is DRSOUMEN10. Okay, so this is the link, various link that I have given here. That my Telegram group link is also given here. The future batch course that is going to start, the 2 batch course that I told, the link is everything given here. And the free YouTube session that I was telling, that I have taken one free YouTube session, clinical neurophysiology, that link is also given here. So download the PDF and please click on the link. You will came to know detail about everything. Okay, and this course that I was talking, that it has started already, but my session will be start in the month of September. Okay, so the name of this course is Operation NEET PG 2021. Okay, so this course will be start from the July, already started, and it will come it will end at the level of December. Okay, and you can know that how much time is given for this physiology, because it's a crash course. Rapid discussion will be there. 22 hours is given for physiology, and the other duration for other courses, other subject is also given here. And these are the list of teacher. For physio, I am going to take the whole physiology crash course, and for anatomy and other teachers' names are also given in this slide. So you can go through them later on. So this is me, and if you want to join this course, please use my code, that is DRSOUMN 10, right? And this is the various method how to pay for the crash courses, and these are the free sessions which are coming in the platform next, right? So this is all about today. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending the session. Okay, thank you so much. So how to prepare for PGI exam? Okay, so PGI is a different kind of exam. Physio has given less important there, 5-6 question will be there, but these questions are based on the same concept which you are reading for other subject only, but detailed discussion like this here. I am discussing excitation, contraction, coupling for 1 hour. See how much detail we have discussed. This kind of detailing is required for PGI Chandigarh question. Although physio is less important for PGI Chandigarh, 5-6 question will be there. Okay. So thank you so much for listening the session. I hope you will join the tomorrow's session also. Tomorrow we are going to discuss the synaptic transmission. Again, I can assure you, you are going to get some new concept. You are going to get the detail of the synaptic transmission in tomorrow's class. So bye bye. Good night. Take care. Okay. Thank you so much.